There's a reason why manipulators walk away confused when they try to cross an INFJ. You've learned to use defenses that work on several levels at once, and that throws people off balance fast. Rather than relying on the same tricks, you employ inner strategies that make others second-guess themselves. In this video, we'll explore 7 of those strategies in detail. Trust me, by the end, you'll see how INFJs protect themselves without becoming someone else. Each of these methods is subtle but powerful, and it all begins with the way you reflect another person's energy right back at them. Before we start, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the world of personality types. And if you are looking to achieve a deeper understanding of yourself and your personality type, click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test. Number 1, the mirroring maze, reflecting your own energy back at you. The first defense is what I call the mirroring maze. When someone pushes at you with sharp or aggressive energy, you don't respond in the way they expect. INFJs often don't react with fear or attack. Instead, a natural pattern kicks in. Your introverted intuition picks up the emotional current, and your extroverted sensing plays it back with striking accuracy. The effect feels a lot like psychological Aikido. If another person comes at you with hostility, what they think is reflected isn't resistance. It's their own force, amplified until it becomes uncomfortable to bear. They suddenly see their tone, their body language, their hidden intent echoed right in front of them, and it rattles them. This isn't usually a deliberate tactic. It's more of an instinct woven into how you process and express energy. The reflection works so precisely that the aggressor is forced to face what they usually avoid: their own behavior. For many, that moment of clarity is almost unbearable. The result is simple. They meet themselves, and the conflict fizzles because they can't keep repeating what they now see too clearly. And while reflection creates this uneasy mirror, your defenses don't stop there. Another layer grows from how much you quietly notice and remember. Number 2, the information vault, knowing more than they let on. The next shield is what I refer to as the information vault. INFJs have a quiet way of taking everything in: your tone, your habits, even the inconsistencies between what you say and what you do. They don't just notice, they store it. Over time, this creates a private archive that others often overlook. What makes this so powerful is how selectively it's revealed. Most of the vault remains hidden, yet when the timing is right, you may hear a single detail dropped into conversation, a reminder that they've been paying attention all along. It lands softly, maybe even casually, but the impact is sharp. Suddenly, you realize they know far more than you thought. That shift creates an immediate imbalance. It isn't loud or confrontational, but the certainty breaks through the illusion of control. In practice, you may notice the INFJ slipping in one understated fact that changes the entire dynamic. They understand the whole pattern, and when they choose to speak, it shows that the game has already been mapped out. This strategy doesn't overwhelm or attack. Instead, it dismantles illusions with precision. And while this vault of knowledge influences the mind, their next defense goes deeper, anchoring them in an inner steadiness even when emotions are used against them. Number 3, the emotional fortress, creating impenetrable boundaries. It's not built from cold walls, but from subtle filters that guide what gets through. These boundaries act like filters. Authentic connection passes through. Toxic tactics bounce off. They make it very difficult for guilt trips or manipulation to find a foothold. You'll notice this when guilt trips fall flat, or when someone tries to provoke you, and the reaction they expect never arrives. INFJs don't usually take the bait because their intuition spots the pattern long before it has the chance to hook in. The force of the manipulation seems to collapse under its own weight, leaving the manipulator disarmed. Crucially, this fortress doesn't isolate them. It allows closeness with those who are genuine while shielding their inner space from unnecessary chaos. INFJs recognize that a person's negativity often says more about that person than it does about them. This awareness allows them to stay grounded instead of being pulled into every storm. Their strength lies in protecting their energy without cutting themselves off from others. It's a balance of openness and defense. And once you understand that balance, there's another move INFJs make that's just as disarming, not by building walls, but by pulling back into silence. Number 4, the strategic silence, using withdrawal as a weapon. When conflict arises, INFJs tend not to rush to react. Instead, they step back into deliberate quiet. This withdrawal is strategic, a way to create space where the aggressor reveals themselves. Click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test. That silence isn't empty, it shifts the room. Without expected pushback or justification, the other person is left talking into a void. And in that vacuum, their true motives start to surface. While they push harder, the INFJ quietly observes, watching as words, tone, and intent give away far more than if they had responded in the moment. Their silence highlights the emptiness of hostile tactics more sharply than any debate could. The manipulator expects fire. Instead, they're met with stillness. That mismatch unsettles them, sparking doubt in their own approach. This quiet stance transforms conflict into pure observation. The INFJ holds the role of witness, not participant. Control tactics weaken without emotional fuel, and the person behind them eventually faces the uncomfortable sight of their own behavior, stripped of momentum. And here's the real strength. Silence not only breaks the cycle, but also sharpens the INFJ's awareness. From that stillness comes insight into patterns and hidden intent, a skill that powers the following line of defense. Number 5, the manipulation detector, seeing through every tactic. Now comes the manipulation detector, the INFJ's ability to see through every tactic almost before it begins. You know that moment when someone starts speaking and you already sense where they're going? That's not a hunch. That's your pattern recognition catching the shape of manipulation as it's forming. This insight runs deeper than surface behaviors. It stems from intuitive insight, quiet pattern recognition, combined with external feelings, emotional intuition, and internal logical thinking, all supported by external awareness of subtle cues. Together, these functions enable you to identify the gap between stated intentions and hidden motivations with uncanny accuracy. You hear the words, but you also sense the unspoken need behind them. Because you detect the move early, you can neutralize it immediately. Instead of being pulled into the dynamic, you might reframe the topic with one calm sentence, or even ask a pointed question that makes the hidden motive too obvious to ignore. A single shift in framing is often enough to dissolve the control before it gains strength. The point is prevention. They stop the game before it starts. And once the tactic loses power, the manipulator is left exposed, opening the way for another form of defense that quietly redirects the energy instead of clashing with it. Number 6, the psychological redirect, turning tables without fighting. This is where INFJs practice what can only be called emotional aikido. Instead of clashing head-on, they let the hostile energy move past them, then guide it into unexpected directions. When provoked or manipulated, the INFJ rarely reacts with defense or attack. Instead, they lean into curiosity. A single calm question, something like, "Help me understand what you're hoping to achieve here," changes the terrain instantly. It halts the forward charge and forces the other person to reveal their intent. This is psychological jujitsu in action. By focusing attention on the aggressor's own motivations, the negativity turns back on itself. What was meant to trap the INFJ ends up spotlighting the manipulator's tactics. The shift is disorienting because the expected fight never arrives. The redirect works because it changes the rules of engagement. Instead of fighting, they change the rules, and manipulators are left without a playbook. For you as a listener, this teaches that redirecting energy can expose motives without escalation, a practice that protects integrity while diffusing conflict. And it's not only about that sharp moment of redirection. What makes INFJs even more unpredictable is the way they step back beyond immediate reactions, operating on a timeline that stretches far further than most people realize. Number 7. The long game master. Planning moves you can't see coming. The final shield is what I call the long game master. Planning moves you can't see coming. When someone crosses an INFJ, the reaction often isn't immediate. Instead of snapping back, they appear calm, even indifferent. But beneath that surface, introverted intuition is already tracing long arcs of cause and effect, setting the stage for a response no one expects. This is the patience paradox. INFJs use time as a tool. While others push for quick wins, you're willing to wait. That waiting isn't passive. It's strategic patience, gathering information, noticing hidden motives, and watching patterns settle until the right moment emerges. Most people play for the quick match. INFJs focus on the entire timeline. They know some battles aren't worth fighting now if they can be won cleanly later. And that mismatch creates disorientation. The manipulator expects an outburst or quick retaliation, but finds silence instead. Then comes the turning point. Weeks or even months later, the INFJ returns, calm, precise, and armed with a complete perspective. What was mistaken for surrender was actually preparation. The payoff often surprises the aggressor, and you'll see why in the last point. Together, these strategies show a way of defense that is quietly powerful and rooted in something more profound than conflict itself. In conclusion, what you've seen are not weapons of attack, but tools of defense. These methods are about defense, preserving authenticity and integrity, not hurting others. Each approach comes from the INFJ's genuine nature and cognitive core. Out of that foundation arise 7 key defenses: the mirroring maze, the information vault, emotional boundaries, strategic silence, the manipulation detector, psychological redirect, and the patience paradox of the long game. If you want to continue the journey to understanding yourself or an INFJ in your life, click either of the following videos, where we continue to unlock the secrets of the INFJ personality type.